What we have here today is AI deep research. Now, depending on the LLM, depending on the model, these types of skills, these types of little capabilities, these little specialized agents, these can differ between model to model, LLM to LLM. So, understand that coming into this, there is already a steep learning curve with you've got to be able to kind of get through the LLM arena and figure out which one's going to do a good job for you to begin with. In this instance, I have a premium paid for ChatGPT account with OpenAI's ChatGPT, and we're going to see here today how a deep research prompt really dives into the nitty gritty, the nooks and the crannies of a given subject, a given topic, and how it can be an absolutely great source, a phenomenal way to literally just nerd out on a brand new subject that you have never touched before at all. Here, I just want to point out here at the very top, you can see that this deep research took an hour and 18 minutes. Actually, you know what? Let me bring this in a bit. This is kind of big, or kind of small. So you can see here that the deep research prompt, after it was fed the initial prompt, this research completed in 1 hour and 18 minutes with 32 citations and 485 searches. This is not something you just whip up in 5 minutes. This is not something you just casually do in an afternoon. This is something that you literally task the AI with. And I'd like to point out, the better you are about pre-tasking them, the better the information you're going to receive back. That's a very key fundamental thing here that I do want to point out. I actually kind of lucked out with my particular example here. Italian culinary mastery. But you know, the initial prompt that you inject into this deep research, that is going to play a foundational, massive parameter around all of this searching, around all of this researching. So I need you to pay attention to that right out of the gate. Make sure you are coming at this with a very strong, very solid prompt that is rich in context so that the AI can better inference what it's going about researching. And this is the big thing about this researching stuff. So you may or may not have heard the debate between like AI scholars and AI experts, you know, about what are the best like kind of methodologies to improve the AI? What makes the AI stronger and stronger and stronger? Is it the training data or is it the inferencing? Is it the actual active thinking component itself, the algorithm equating itself? Or is it the back end, the initial context richness that you feed it initially? There's a lot of debating to be had about these kind of things. This is a particular specialized example of the inferencing being allowed to run wild, allowing the power of inferencing to really take hold. And let me just show you something really fast to kind of like get at what I'm going at here. This is a infographic about looking at like a standard prompt you would just commonly feed an LLM versus an actual deep research prompt. And you can see literally we're looking at like a single inference call with a very tiny, compute cost, very tiny tokenization cost. And obviously the response time is lightning quick in a bottle, and it's not really going to be like pulling a lot of resources. It's not going to really be like covering its own tail in a lot of ways, but it is going to produce something that is cost efficient and very, very fast. Now, in the inverse of that, when we give the AI time to just check itself and run over itself, you can see all of these stats immediately skyrocket to the moon. Instead of one single inference call, we have 20 to 50 plus inference calls. Instead of token processing in roughly maybe less than 1,000 tokens, now we're looking at 100x that amount. And I mean, you can read the charts. There they are. It's phenomenal how much this spikes up the cost and the compute of everything exponentially, like we've talked about before. But at the same time, the results, in a lot of ways, speak for themselves. And now let's go over the results. So today, I randomly decided that I'm going to become an Italian chef. I, Jay Warzinski, Polish extraordinaire, will now master the European boot. And I will make pasta and risotto and stuff. I don't know. Anyways, so here we are with the deep research. It went ahead and gave me an executive summary explaining basically, like, giving kind of like a historical context, but also like a regional cultural context as well. These are the core findings, right? Italian cooking is best learned as a system of regional techniques, not just a list of recipes, right? And then, it kind of like, we get even further and deeper into it. Let's break down some stereotypes. Let's break down some assumptions that an ignorant, naive person might have. Oh, it's me, it's Mario. Let's break that down so that we can have a more accurate understanding of what we are inferencing. An Italian culinary chef. Bam, there it is. Some foundational techniques. Look at this. Knife skills. It literally in a graph this out too. Look at this. Look at how clean and how formatted this is. We broke it down. You're gonna need to. You can't just cut an onion, okay? You can't just cut an onion. We need you to slice and dice that onion, okay? And it breaks it down. It gets into everything. These are the foundations of what you are building towards. You master these, everything else gets put right on top, baby. That's it. After that, we're just gravy train out of the station. And it also lets you know up front, look, this ain't gonna be easy. This isn't something you can just sleep on, right? This is difficult stuff. This can be very complex stuff too. And it gets into the nitty-gritty, the deep pieces and regions and sectors of every single bit of this subject material. Italian culinary cooking. It's great. It breaks everything down in a very clean, very formatted manner. And then, like, we even get into, because, like, I made the mention that, like, I'm trying to learn a new skill. I'm trying to progress my expansive knowledge. And also because the LLM does have a lot of context about me, Jay Warzinski, the individual, obviously. It knows that I'm a college student. So it likes to frame things in a college student type way. So it literally, of its own volition, broke down and gave me a 12-week curriculum, a 12-week cooking course. Bam! There it is. Took an hour and 20 minutes of my life that I'm never going to get back, but look what it generated. This is impressive stuff. And yet again, like, look at this infographic here. We start with knife control, okay? Instead of cutting yourself, we need you cutting the tomato, okay? And we get all the way up to, regional menu building and capstone regional dinners. If you talk to a college professor, this AI just nailed it out of the park. This AI absolutely went the college university culinary chef 245 class route. And then, of course, we get into, like, specific recipes, specific kind of mediums within the context of the wider subject that we can really hone in on, really get to know. It gave me a syllabus with tutor plans. Here's the main lesson plans, right? An assessment rubric, how to grade myself on how well I'm doing as a brand new Italian culinary master. I mean, it's funny in a way, right? I'm sure you could hear the facetious tone in my voice when I speak on this, because it's all just, this is all just kind of lighthearted fun at the end of the day. But, this is really interesting stuff. Now, you can see coming to some of the artifacts from the lackluster prompt that I use. Now, I was obviously doing this as a homework assignment, and so I literally copy-pasted my professor's prompt and kind of just built that in as my own prompt. And so like the prompt was literally like asking for like educational artifacts. So here we have an audio script with a narrated overview. Um, this doesn't exactly help. This is kind of just yet again, right? Here's the proof. Here's the proof in the pudding that we are not dealing with a sentient creature on the other side. We are in fact dealing with an equations, algorithms, and a computational robot that doesn't know how to inference what the human actually needs versus what the human's literally just asking for, right? You can ask it for the dumbest, craziest things in the world, and generally speaking, within the purview of morals and ethics, it will usually give you that stuff. So here's a random audio transcript. Sure, why not? And then, like, furthermore, more kind of just random prompt artifacting. But yet again, like, if we look at the original prompt, like, this is why I got a lot of this, and this is why I really hit home at the beginning. You have to model your pre-prompt is everything with this. Because think about this, I spent an hour and 20 minutes to end up with all these silly artifacts, right? If I'm going to sit down and have a computer just actively running and inferencing for an hour and 20 minutes, I better make sure I'm getting my money's worth, as it were, right? I better make sure that it's going to give me very contextual, very prominent, very relevant information. So I want only stuff that's going to help me. And so that's what's really, really important about this deep research. You have to come at this with a very, very big level of seriousness, a very big level of professionalism. Otherwise, it's going to spend an hour of your life giving you garbage, just like a normal prompt would. And then at that point, you really have to ask yourself, well, what was the point to begin with, right? So the thing about all this deep research stuff is it's a very powerful way. It's a very powerful way to inverse the typical common operations of these LLMs, of these chatbots. It's a way to exploit the pros and the cons. It's a way to min-max the AI in a way that isn't always readily available or accessible, but it can produce extremely potent and extremely powerful results if done right. And that's the thing I want to kind of hit home with today here. Guys, if you've never looked into this before, I would highly encourage you. This stuff is really, really impressive. Really impressive. However, you can see the upfront immediate cost is not to be taken lightly. It's really not. And if you only fart around with this, you will only receive farting around back. So you have to keep that in mind well. But with all that being said, I would highly encourage people, if they can find access to this stuff, if they can find a route to get in and really dive into this, check out AI Deep Researching. It's a phenomenal way to let the AI parse through tons and tons and tons of content and literature and boil it down into a perfect parameterized contextual format that it can feed you in about a 15 to 20 minute increment, right? And from there, if you digest all of this, if you really soak this in and start running with this, think about how much of a springboard this could be in your own intellectual pursuits. You might be amazed. You might even try this with something you already are a nerd about. Let's say you're a big fly fisherman. Let's say you know how to corner knot every single hook and dandy from here to there and everywhere in between. You are the biggest of fishing nerds. I would encourage you to spend some time sitting down and building out a really powerful, really nerdy fishing prompt for a deep research agent, and then run that prompt through the deep research agent, and given an hour or two, come back and see what the AI has to teach you, the already master, the already nerd, about a subject you already intimately understand and run with. You will be, I promise you, you will be pleasantly surprised that even the AI can teach you something new. And that's pretty crazy stuff right there. That's pretty crazy stuff right there. So Guys, that's it for AI Deep Research today. It's just, yet again, me just doing homework and me kind of spiraling into a rabbit hole. But this is something that I think is actually really pragmatic. I think there's a massive practical application to something like this. Whether you're a student or whether you're just a working schmo, and let's say you're having a boring afternoon, you just got off work. It's still like 3-4 hours till you need to be hitting the hay and going to bed. And I don't know, maybe that seventh ranked run of Call of Duty is just burning out on you, man. You're just sick and tired of the same old, right? Come check it out. Come learn a little. Come experience something new. Come experiment with something new as well. It's amazing what you can pull out of an AI. Obviously, there's a lot of kind of upfront costs. There's a lot of upfront skills that are associated with all of this. And as people are commonly aware, the AI can still hallucinate. The AI can still come up with crazy random artifacts. But, that's part of the cost associated with it anyways. Anyways, I think I've rambled off for way too long. This is some fun, crazy stuff. I would implore you to check it out. But until next time, guys, stay safe, and I'll see you later.